Hey, Las Vegas, thanks for joining us back here at Realty Check, your local Las Vegas real estate news show. And I'm your host, Trish Williams.
And I'm your co-host, Tiana Carroll, and welcome back. This week we are going to be talking about our November numbers. We're at the beginning of December of 2022, and our numbers have come in officially from LVR. So we'll discuss that, what's going on in news, as well as we have a listener question this week, which I was very interested to get.
Yes, I actually spent a lot of time researching that question, so we'll get into that a little later in the show. But that's it was interesting. So I'm glad that question was asked because it made me.
It made you go things that make you go
Yeah, you're like, wow, that is interesting. So yeah, we'll be talking about that as well. Before we get into that, before we get into what happened last month, which those numbers are pretty eye-opening.
Those numbers are pretty eye-opening. I think we kind of had a little bit of a shocker when we took our week off of recording for Thanksgiving. We came back and the numbers had dipped more than I thought they would. And then it really made us sort of question, wow, you know, really what's going on in November. So I was anticipating those numbers coming out. When I saw them, they were a little bit lower than I had expected, but I expected them to be low.
Yeah, and they were... Do you feel like you're busier now? I do feel like slightly busier now. I mean,
right.
Gosh, no, nothing compared to earlier in the year, but slightly busier now. And when I look at the numbers being so drastic, so lower and drastically lower, I'm wondering like, how is that even? It feels busy, but maybe we're just doing busy work right now. We're out showing a lot of homes. We're out doing activities, but the actual like escrows and closings haven't happened yet.
Right. I think I said something about it either last week or the week before. Like I'm seeing an uptick in business, not actual closings or going into as many contracts, but definitely people who are becoming serious about doing real estate. They're coming out of the woodworks. They're kind of going, okay, so we are listening, what's happening. And so I've got more buyers who are inquiring. I'm connecting them with lenders. Some of them are still, you know, having to deal with last year's taxes or get themselves in a position to buy. But at least they're starting to take those action steps. And really that's what we're looking for. We're looking for people who are serious about business, who want to get into a home. And right now, I know we preach it every week since our numbers have changed and our market shifted, that right now is a good time for buyers because of seller concessions, because of prices coming down. Everybody wants to follow the news and talk about, oh no, these high interest rates, we can't buy now. But we covered it in not last week, but the week before when we did the video, how a $500,000 house in the last market we were in and the new market we're in, even though the interest rates have changed, so have the prices, so the monthly payment's about the same.
Yeah.
Keep your credit good for make your 6 payments so you're able to refinance when those interests drop. So they're projecting interest rates. Have you been watching this for 2023 and 24? So in 23, they're expecting them to be from about 5.5 to 6.5 for the majority of the year. But then we go into 24, and what happens in 24?
They're expecting them to be down to the 5s again.
Right, because we have an election year, and historically, interest rates always drop during an election year.
Except for this year.
Well, presidential election year, how's that?
Presidential election year, okay. Yeah, so no, absolutely, and we are seeing some positive, hopeful news coming along in the future. I've been talking to people recently and even making offers. Sellers are starting to just dig their heels in the ground and say, you know what, I'll give some closing costs, I'll give a little bit of concessions, but I'm not going to go extreme. You know, so we're starting to see some pushback on that, where the last couple of months we weren't, and this is kind of where I've been warning buyers is I feel like this window is getting shorter.
Agreed.
Of when you're going to be able to get the benefit of all those concessions.
Oh, I believe that the window is now starting to close because we are coming upon the holiday season and sellers are going to just be irritated with the whole thing. You know, showing homes during the holidays and traveling, guests in town and what have you. And then because we're already seeing this uptick now, it makes me very optimistic that come end of January, beginning of February, that's when we're going to start to see our spring right before tax season and kids get out of school, and it's going to change yet again. So you'll have to tune in there. So make sure you like, share, and subscribe to us so you know what's going to happen in our spring market too.
And let's be honest, sellers they're in a position right now where they have equity.
Yep.
The rental prices are still good.
Yep.
And they're not pressured into selling. Selling is their best option in a lot of cases. It's what works for them, but in many cases they don't have to. And again, those they're just digging their heels in on not letting it feel like they're completely being taken advantage of, which I know for buyers, they're like, hey, they were taking advantage of us all year last year. Now it's their turn.
Well,
but
it's not even us, right?
Yeah.
Because the buyers who are the buyers now didn't experience that market.
Yeah.
So they're just living out somebody else's horror stories, if we're being honest. But the reality is markets always change, and the people who are serious about having to sell or buy are going to continue to sell and buy. But right now there's no necessity. A lot of people who are selling in spring, summer were just trying to cash out, get as much money as they possibly could. Now people don't have to do that. They're sitting on equity. They have their lower interest rates when they purchased, and now they're just chilling.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So,
which we didn't even do the numbers
yeah,
yet.
that's where
I mean,
we're going into
we have
right
a whole
now.
show about numbers, and we haven't even started that.
Yeah, so this last week, single family homes on the market were 6659.
Yes, they were, which, we were playing right under 8,000, and now we're playing just about 6,500 week over week for the past few weeks. We've had some price reductions, but like we talked about, those corrections have already been happening in the way people have priced their homes, and so now we're only seeing less than 1,000 price reductions going on, like what was it, 987?
987 in price reductions. And a lot of people are pulling their home off the market because of the holidays. So that's why we're seeing less homes on the market. And I'm a little concerned that we might go into 2023. I can't believe we're already saying 2023. I'm a little concerned that if we don't get some real solid buyer activity this next quarter, coming up, that we're going to go into 2023 in a market where people just aren't listing at all. There's
that's a very real possibility.
Yeah, and then we'll be back to that shortage of inventory, but it'll just be like a different environment because there won't be quite as many buyers because of the rates, unless the rates do come down. So we could be experiencing yet another type of shift as we go into this next quarter.
Well, that's what we anticipate, right? It's always the ebb and flow of real estate and what happens and how many buyers there are versus how many sellers we have, and kind of that check and balance of real estate. So it is going to be a different scenario, and everywhere you turn for real estate news, it's all doom and gloom. 23 is going to be the worst. 23 is going to be the worst. 23 is going to be the worst. But the reality is we're a strong Vegas market, and those who have to buy and sell are going to buy and sell, and we just won't have any of the extra looky-loos and grubby hand greedy people coming into our market, which is fine. They can take a break for a year.
So I've actually heard some positive reports too about 2023, and again, it's all guesswork. But I have heard some reports that say that it's going to, first quarter is going to pick up. We should see about 6 to 8% appreciation over 2023,
which is so healthy,
which is great. No, that's great. I'd be very happy to see that. So I hope that it's that it plays out that way and not in a negative way for the entire year. I mean, gosh, this year's been 10 years. So like to go through another year.
Those are the facts right there.
This year is like we have had every season in the market this year. This has been crazy. Redfin just came out with a report that Las Vegas is still an affordable option, still a desired city for people that are in other places like Washington and California to move, and we are still on the top list of affordable and great places to move to. So that is, and as we're seeing buyers now coming out of the woodworks, they were just waiting to see what the market looked like. as we're seeing them come out of the woodworks and start shopping again, this is going to be one of the factors that plays in, right?
It is. It is absolutely going to be one of the factors. I think it's hysterical that you cited Redfin, though, because
I know.
I read that one, right? But I also read an article from Redfin that was talking about how the Vegas market, the Austin market, the Tampa market, all of that Sun Belt that everybody had that giant exodus to, is now going to sort of die out and not grow in 23, 24 the way they did 20 to 23, 22, because markets that didn't warm up, which were all those cold states, right? Pennsylvania, Connecticut, New York, Illinois, those are going to be the places that now still are affordability, and people can now move into those, especially they're hoping for younger millennials and Gen Zs who get to move or work from home are going to go into those colder climates and start raising those home values while the Sun Belt sort of gets stagnant. And both of those articles came out in the same week, by the way. One saying Vegas is hot, Vegas is cold, move to cold weather. Yay, Redfin.
So do their writers talk to each other?
Apparently not. Apparently not. Because it was literally within 2 days of one another. I was like, wait, Vegas is hot, and no, Vegas is not. So I think they're just looking for clickbait, or just to throw their hat in the ring. And the thing is, nobody has a crystal ball but us.
Yeah. Well, it goes to show that, again, when you're reading the news, when you're looking at the news, when you're watching the news, I have so many times since I've been in this industry, I know for a fact, without a doubt, what I see happening out there on the streets, right? What's happening at these doors, at the houses, and then I see some news report, and I'm like, that's a lie. That's not true.
Okay, so that goes to the importance of the realtor, right?
Right.
Because you have to know your local market, and you have to be able to advise your clients, because a lot of times news outlets or Redfin or whatever, they have ulterior motives. They're either spreading fear or creating clickbait, or they're needing you to listen to their news source and their outlet and their story. And then people hear it and automatically they assume like, oh, well, that's correct. It's the news.
Well, frankly, they have to keep on putting out articles.
Well, they do.
And they're trying to make them interesting, and I think they just run out of things to talk about, so they'll take anything that they hear and put stuff together. It's not just Redfin. Every news source outlet is guilty of it. So yeah, that is what it is. So I agree with this one. I think Vegas is still an affordable place to live. I think Vegas is still a great option. There's times that I'm looking through the MLS when someone will call and they're asking for like a certain home and a certain price, and in my head I'm like, earlier this year there was no such thing as that, and then I type it in, I look it up, and I'm like, wow, look at all these options.
You're like, there's 13 options here. That's amazing.
I know, and then I'm like, oh my God, these are great homes. I was telling someone that the other day. I'm on the phone with them, and I'm like, okay, let me type that in and see see what's there, and then I was like, oh my God, these are amazing for this price. I can't believe it. It's like, wow, I want to go shopping. So it's even surprising to us because earlier this year, last year, those homes, those prices didn't exist. So now there's really affordable, you can get a really great home at an affordable price. And the prices have changed pretty substantially over the last year.
Yeah, we've had definitely that about 15% decrease in our price, which in my opinion is just a correction, right? So that works out well. And we are affordable in consideration of the size of urban city we are and all the amenities we have with the hospitality and the international airport and, sporting groups now. Is that even what are sporting groups? Yeah,
sporty.
NHL and NFL, and we've got the WNBA who are champions this year. What's up? Get it, Vegas.
Yeah. That's awesome. I don't follow sports, so.
Well, I just called it a sporting group, so obviously I'm huge into sports because I know all the correct terms.
Well, so November, we every month we get data from LVR, tracks all the data, all the activity that's happening through the MLS, of course. And we have our November numbers, and they're
Kind of what we expected.
they're what we expected. So single family units sold in November. This is actual closings. Now LVR data does also track Pahrump. So it tracks Las Vegas, Henderson, North Las Vegas, Pahrump. So those are included in these numbers as well. 1,521 units sold. That's down 53.5%.
Since last year.
Yes, since last year.
November. November to November, we're down.
That's huge. I mean, that's under 2,000 units sold. Now, I was in a meeting with a veteran agent that has been around for quite some time and through the crash and everything. And this was a couple months ago, and he was saying, you know, at the height of the crash, we had a month where we only had 1,000 closings. And I was like, you know, this was a few months ago before things got where they are now.
Right,
and I
and
was
you're like 1,000? That's
oh
never
my
gonna happen.
gosh, that's horrible. And now I'm looking at this number like, we're pretty much here. So
Yeah.
we're damn close.
We're damn close, right? 500 houses isn't that much in consideration.
Yeah.
You know, 500 extra closings a month. But like I said, I have been seeing upticks. There are buyers out looking for houses again. And it felt like, you know, that October, November was frozen in time anyway. So I expected that slowdown. But
Yeah.
now I'm already starting to see things pick up or whatever. So December, when we go into our January show, which, you know, then we'll go ahead and report December's numbers, and I expect December to be low.
A little bit.
And that's typical for holiday. It's usually the lowest amount of closings a year.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a little bit lower. That might be closer to your 1,000 that you thought we wouldn't get to.
Yes, no. I do, and I keep on saying this to people too that I'm talking to. I do think the worst is over. I think that where we're at right now is probably where we're going to be, or at least be the worst of it. So hopefully that's true. Median home price has dropped down to $430,990 for units sold, single family residences.
Right, and that's down about $30,000 because we were all the way up to $460,000, which is crazy because what was it last year? We're like, oh, we made $385,000, and we're like, we've got amazing home prices, and then it jumped, and now it's sort of dipped down, not much, but it has.
I remember in 2015 when we hit 200 in the median home price, and I was like, wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. Times have changed.
Times have changed. In retrospect.
I just picked up a townhome, and I was like looking through history just because I'm nosy. And the owner who I bought it from, they paid $135,015 for it, and it was going for $300,000. I was like, that's pretty good growth.
Yeah, I seen a townhome recently that was $200,000, and it was very affordable for a townhome, by the way. But
yeah, really, $200,000. That's pretty good.
The previous owner before had bought it for $60,000. And I'm like, who would have sold it? Why would you sell a house for $60,000?
Yeah.
Like a home. But, you know, again, retrospect, back in that time, it was like, wow, I'm going to sell this and get what I can out of it or whatever. I don't know. But it's just like, why would you sell a place that you could live in for $60,000?
Yeah, no, it's crazy.
Yeah, but again, things change. So in November, units available, single family units closed out at 7,342, which we've already seen that drop a bit.
Yeah.
And effective availability is 4.8 months. So that's up 463.2%.
Well, yeah, because we didn't have stock. So
Yeah.
the fact that we have almost 5 months of stock when we were down to, at our lowest point, like 6 weeks of stock.
Yeah.
It's changed a little bit. But like our numbers just October, November, December have changed. We're getting less and less stock. And so we've kind of covered that already a little bit.
Yeah. And then condos and townhouses, units sold 462. We always see those numbers a bit different. Condos and townhouses, those include like your condos that are traditional condos that are for like regular buyers. And also high rises are part of that too.
Yep.
So they're included in the condo category there. So so that's at 462, median price range 260,000, and closed out units available for those were 1,633.
Yeah, so about 3.5 months worth of condo.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing people who weren't considering condos and townhomes now considering them, because the market has dropped a little bit and now they're under 300,000, and sometimes people are looking for that.
Yeah.
Some people need it, and there's some really great options in the world. The things with condos and townhomes that change everything for a lot of buyers are the HOAs, because it changes their buying power. If you have a $200 a month HOA, then you're down 15 grand in purchase power.
So is it never? I mean, maybe it'll never happen, and this is like a crazy thing to ever expect, because you see places like Hawaii where they have like regular condos and their HOAs are $900 a month, and you're like, for what?
Yeah, well, we have some of those here. Some of our high rises and downtown high rises, their HOAs are ridiculous.
Right, but at least with those, it comes with something. It's not just like a little apartment condo. But those high rises, yeah, they're high prices. I agree with that. But you have concierge service. You have the like valet parking. You have someone to pick up your dry cleaning. You have the amenities, cabanas. There's so many things that come along with that. The workout room, the internet cafe area. It's like living in a hotel, and you have to pay for the
absolutely.
Yeah, you have to pay for the service. But then there's standard, like just regular condos that have pretty high HOAs, and the thing is, they weren't always that high. I owned one of these a few years ago, and that's the reason why I had gotten rid of it, is because it was I had bought it like many years ago. When I was on my own before I got married. And it had a low HOA. I think it was like $120 a month. And it got up right now. When I sold it, it was maybe at $180, but now I think it's at $220 or $250. It's just the fact that they can raise that much over time. I feel like there should be some kind of regulation there, because essentially the HOA dues going up like that will affect the home's value.
Well, absolutely, and the buyer's purchasing power. And it's happened. There's been a few communities that I've been keeping my eye on. I have a bunch of stuff that I really like, and when stuff comes up, I bookmark it and be like, okay, I want to buy in here, and I want a property there, or whatever. And the HOA in one of the places that I've liked has gone up 3 years consecutively in a row, and this December, one of those HOAs are trying to raise it yet again, another $25 a month.
Jeez, yeah.
And going up every year, that's just not right.
And I understand inflation, and I understand like how the thing works, the whole thing, because I've served on an HOA board and would never do that again. But
I was thinking taking on that responsibility for a second just to experience. But you already know how I feel about HOAs.
Right.
When I go in there, they're going to hate me.
Well, that's the thing, though.
As much as I hate them.
It was a great experience to serve on it, but to understand how everything works. But, you don't take in things into consideration. Like, yeah, the dues also pay for the landscapers. And the landscapers' price from 10 years ago is not what it is today. That raises, so that makes your dues raise and makes things go up. Accounting is not my strong set. However, I do feel, and even being a part of this experience, is that somebody that is very, very good at accounting could get in there and find a way to manage those costs a bit better. But it's volunteer work. It's somebody that you kind of need that talent, that person that has that talent and that skill to also be willing to volunteer their time, which usually people that are that talented are usually doing a job that pays and don't have time to volunteer for something like that. So there is, it is inflation. I'm sure has a bit to do with those dues going up, but you never see them go down.
Right. Like HOA is going to send out a letter going, well, listen, folks, We think we're going to give you guys a break, and we're going to drop your HOA dues $25 a month times 300 units. It's going to be fine. We're not going to take a loss. No, that does not happen.
Yeah.
And I understand with inflation having to raise HOA dues, and I understand the importance of HOAs and why people love them. And, you know, we're keeping our property values up and blah, blah, blah. Yay, you guys. But it is something that does affect buying power for buyers, because you get your pre-qual letter or your pre-approval letter and you're like, oh, I've got, you know, $315,000 to spend, but if I'm looking at an HOA of 200, I can actually only buy at 300 or 200 a month, then I can actually buy a unit that is 300,000. When you're at 15,000 and you're shopping at that lower price point, that's going to make a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. It does make a difference.
Yep.
So let's get into our listener question that we had here.
Hey, I'm so excited. So that was Steve Ho, right?
Steve Ho had sent us a question.
Shout out, Steve.
Hi, Steve. Thank you. Thank you for your question, Steve, because it did make us look into some things. You wanted to know what is going on with all the homes that Open Door and OfferPad own. So Open Door's been in the news a lot lately.
All through November.
Yeah.
They laid off 18% of their workforce in November.
Which was about 550 employees.
Right?
Yeah.
And they had a change in leadership.
Yes. They had, it was previously Eric Wu, who was the co-founder. He stepped down and resigned.
Well, he didn't resign. He moved to director of marketplace.
Okay, yes, you're right. Andrew Key is the one who resigned.
Right.
And there's a new CFO, and is it Carrier? What is his name?
Yes. Well, Carrie, but I think it's a she, isn't it?
I'm not sure.
I think it's a she, and she was. I think she was CFO, and now she's stepping into place of the CEO.
Yes. So,
as Wu takes a back seat. Okay, so we made bad decisions, folks. Let's rethink this.
Well, they had $328 million in losses last quarter.
That's it. Yeah. Well, okay. 328 million. Oh, and they also had they were the one with the lawsuit for $62 million.
Not sure about that, but
no, I believe it was them.
There was a lawsuit that was against them. They were.
Open Door's been having a hard time this last end of the year here, but. Yeah, they ended up having the lawsuit, changing of leadership. But in reality, all of the losses that they had are just talking in the millions. But they were a $8 billion company. Yes. Now they're $1 billion, which $1 billion is nothing to laugh at, right? But their stocks have completely tanked. When they came on the market, they were 31 and change for stock, and this week they were trading at $1.37.
Yeah,
that's quite a loss there. So anybody who invested in them has lost their money. They've gone down from $8 billion to $1 million, and they're doing all sorts of beta testing. Have you been keeping track of this?
No.
Okay, so and this is not, OfferPad doesn't have the big stake in our valley, right? So the question was, can you tell us about OfferPad and Open Door? OfferPad only has like 40 something properties in the valley right now,
and their stock is at 66 cents. So they dropped below $1.
Yeah.
And they were threatened to get kicked off the New York Stock Exchange
because
of how drastically their stock dropped. So yes.
Yeah, but I'm talking about Open Door now. With they're the ones who have laid off people. They've had change in leadership. They've had lawsuits that they've paid out. They've dropped from $8 billion to $1 billion. But now they have tons of properties. So places like Tampa, Phoenix, Austin, Las Vegas, they had big investments because they have 566 properties right now in Vegas.
I checked tax records. It looks like their corporation or whatever their corporation's under is about 563 currently owned by them, and they're showing roughly 16,800 across the U.S.
Right. So in our valley, let's say they have, if they were all average price, medium home price ranges in the Valley, they have over $200 million in homes just in the Las Vegas Valley. Now they have greater stakes in places like Austin, Houston, San Antonio. So now if you go on OfferPad and you're in those marketplaces, OfferPad is offering what they call OfferPad exclusives on their website.
Oh, yeah.
And when you click on that, they are selling directly to the consumers, claiming that they are saving the consumers money and they're offloading their property.
This is OfferPad, not Open Door.
Open Door, did I say
Okay,
OfferPad?
yes, you said Offer, because OfferPad is actually incentivizing the realtors to sell their properties.
Okay, so again, Open Door is making choices to get rid of realtors because now they are wanting to sell directly. And it's just being beta test in Texas in those few markets, Austin, Houston, San Antonio, and they are trying to sell off their properties. They have over 500 properties for sale on the regular MLS, and then they have a few hundred properties that are available on their Open Door exclusives that you can get in those spaces. So now they're trying to figure out if they can recoup money selling directly to the consumer in Texas. And in Phoenix, they're doing a program that they have their homes for sale on the MLS. I believe it's somewhere around the same, around 500 units available right now. Now, they're not selling off all of their units in one big bulk, but they're put 500 of them on the MLS in this city and 500 on the MLS in this city. And so in Phoenix, they are doing a price reduction of 2% every 2 weeks on anything they have on the MLS there. So if it's an Open Door property in Phoenix, every 2 weeks, they're dropping 2% to get those properties sold.
Wow. So they are...
None of that's happening here in Vegas, by the way.
Well, good. And they did. This is... not surprising that they're trying to sell directly to the consumer, cut out the real estate agent, because back in August, they announced they were merging with Zillow. So all of their ideals seem to be pretty much the same,
Well,
right?
I think all of the iBuyers, right, they've had their own set of hell. They've been, thought they were going to come in, they were going to manipulate the market, they were going to create this false market and be king of the hill, and they have been, billions of dollars. I don't feel bad for them at all. Go ahead, lose millions, lose billions for all I care. But they are definitely backpedaling, and they keep trying to cut the realtor out. That whole
that's
Open Door exclusive. I'm like, okay, so I was doing the numbers, for this show and just seeing what's going on or whatever. There's still a discrepancy where it's costing the consumer the same amount of money to buy this house even without the realtor, even though they're saying, hey, buy this house directly and you're going to save that.
They just don't want to pay the realtor.
Right, and they're keeping that money. They're finding ways with their fees and whatever to get all of that commission money that would be paid to a realtor back. So they're not doing anything for the consumer, and the consumer is left unprotected.
And I have been in contract with these iBuyer companies, these big iBuyer companies,
Haven't we all?
recently and through the last years. And again, everything looks nice and pretty because they put a nice little coat over everything to make it look nice when you walk in. But I have uncovered and fought for my buyer that I'm representing on these properties, and made some, had some great discoveries. Fought back on a lot of things. Just recently, we had this I was showing you pictures. Oh my gosh, thank God! And the buyer is so grateful. Like, thank you for fighting for me on that. But there's been times where, again, if these consumers or these buyers went in unrepresented, they would have gotten taken advantage of.
Oh, absolutely, because that is the thing. A lot of times when a consumer walks into the home, either they've not been versed enough to know what these remodels look like in quality or standard. And when you go in there, all the holes are filled and the baseboards are clean and painted and the appliances may be low grade, but they're new. But the actual mechanics of the home, if it's a 30-year home or 30-year-old home, then that air conditioning, the plumbing system, all of that is still at that 30-year standard. They didn't come in and fix the mechanics of the home. They just put lipstick on a pig.
Right, and they have some auto responses that they'll always say, "Oh no, we're not dealing with that. That's cosmetic." And it's like, no, we know it's not.
Right. A change in the foundation level is not cosmetics. We're just gonna tell you right now. We're gonna. You can't just throw a little piece of pad in that space to braise it up and be like, it's fine.
Yeah. So there's things like that is, it's again one of those things where, just like with new construction, with so many things, buyers going in unrepresented is not in their best interest. But we've had a pretty packed show here. So
we have had a pretty packed show, and a lot about iBuyers, a lot about our Las Vegas numbers. I do want to just kind of close with the whole idea of the iBuyer, right? Since that was our question. People are like, why would you use an iBuyer? When you're selling a house, it would have been convenient had the model worked out, that there'd be no showings, that you didn't have any days on market, you weren't inconvenienced, and we just buy your house, take it off your hands, and then go. And they were hoarding up all of the properties. They wanted all of them. Then everything sort of shifted, and it didn't work out the way they wanted to. And everybody is now looking forward to 2023, and I'm sure that's what the question was in reference to. What are they going to do with these 500 properties that they own in Vegas? Everybody's like, oh, I hope they sell them super cheap. Why would they have to sell them super cheap? They could sell them at market value.
Yeah.
They're going to get bailed out with some sort of bankruptcy anyway.
They better not. Oh, my goodness.
They are. Oh, their business. Of course they are.
Yeah, but there is.
They're going to.
Ugh, that disgusts me. But there is, they're not budging. OfferPad is budging a lot on their homes. They're offering incentives. They're doing a lot to get their homes off the books. Open Door doesn't seem like they're really, and I've been dealing with them lately, in different times, making offers, doing things, and it's like, wow, they're, with all these properties, you'd think you would have a little more motivation. I even asked one of their reps recently, like, hey, are you guys going to be renting these out? Like, why are you not really motivated to sell right now? That's interesting to me, but
you don't think that has something to do with the bankruptcy?
Yeah, that's true too.
Why wouldn't they hold on to them until they have to go to a bankruptcy, and then in the bankruptcy they'd have to liquidate some of them or whatever?
Yeah, it's ugh.
Yeah, whatever. They're playing the big business game,
Yeah.
right? They're going to get their money. They're going to be doing whatever they need to do and moving on with their life. And if that means bankruptcy or dissolving the company or whatever that means for them, not everybody, their employees, but are not going to be fine. But, they've made their money.
Yeah, absolutely. And they had a good run, I'm sure. So yeah.
$1 billion. I would like a $1 billion run, please.
So stay tuned. And coming up on our next shows, we're going to next year's going to be a traditional show, just a regular show here on Vegas Realty Check, and then at the end of the year, we're going to be having our where we say goodbye, our memorials, where we say goodbye to things from 2022.
Yeah.
As we go into 2023, so stay tuned for that. We have some interesting guests that are lined up to be coming on in the future. We have one guy coming on that's going to be talking about assumable mortgages, which is something that we
haven't seen them.
Well, they're written into a lot of mortgages that are out there already. We just never
use them.
We've never used them, and I've kind of always wondered what they're for. Well, this is what they're for. So
when interest rates change, it's great to assume a loan, right?
Yeah.
Because you take on their loan.
There's a lot of caveats for that too,
absolutely.
though. Loan balance versus the price they're selling. So we're going to get into that in a future show here too. So stay tuned. If you're looking to buy or sell real estate, you could reach me, Trish Williams, at 702-308-2878.
Or you could reach me, Tiana Carroll, at 702-379-9948. We can answer all of your real estate questions and sort of help you navigate these waters as we shift into our new year. So make sure you like, share, and subscribe to us so you will stay informed on everything that is happening in Las Vegas real estate market.
Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you next week on Vegas Realty Check.
Bye, guys. Have a great week.
Bye.